How's it going, guys? So it's been a few days since the holidays. Just looking for whatever, it's fine. Just looking for my kippah, but I think it's in the other room. But anyway, so it's been a few days since the holidays. Finally able to speak to you guys. I'm just gonna wait for some people to show up here. So, Zat Hashem, next week I am flying out to the States for a few months, and it should be very, very interesting. Should be very interesting. And, I was just thinking a lot about what's going on in just in Israel, and also I guess with the stuff, the what, which I'm not allowed to say. And it's funny, like I was thinking about the whole, and I mentioned this before in previous videos, about the whole thing with the Iron Dome, how people got up in arms about Iron Dome. And I was mentioning how, basically Iron Dome is not exactly the thing that's going to solve this. It's not going to solve this. Iron Dome is a is a band-aid, right? It's a giant band-aid or a giant tourniquet. And I was saying how, the only reason we need it is because we pulled out of Gush Katif, we pulled out of Gaza. And I got to thinking, there seems to be a pattern of behavior here. Because if you think about it, what is the, what? What is the stuff that the government, some of these governments are band-aiding us people to take, right? Depending who you are. It's essentially a band-aid. It doesn't, if you look at, for example, the Iron Dome, right? It doesn't stop every missile. It doesn't stop, the disease. It doesn't stop the virus. What's the virus? The virus is the Qassam rockets, right? It doesn't stop the virus. Every so often you get breakthrough cases. And you constantly need to replenish. And interestingly enough, by the way, guys, the Iron Dome itself has something called side effects. What are the side effects? It has collateral damage, right? You fire it at, so to speak, the virus, which is the rocket launchers, or the source of the virus, you're bound to hit people, right? So you have what's called side effects. You have collateral damage. You're not actually tackling the problem, right? You're not tackling the problem with what's called early intervention. My friends, we're doing the same thing with this issue, right? We have treatments, early treatments that we could do, where we could save lives. And those treatments are not, people are using them. Doctors are even prescribing them, but they're largely being suppressed in the media and in popular culture, in the public sphere. Because it's much easier just to say, well, we're going to buy this, we're going to have this Iron Dome, which is also, it's very expensive. Just as Iron Dome is expensive. You have $100,000 for every Iron Dome rocket, for every, $50 or $100 that's spent on, on a Qassam rocket, or some rocket that's made, right? So, same thing with this stuff that we're being forced to take. There's contracts, right? Governments are paying for this. Ironically, the early treatments are way cheaper, right? Way more effective. But the thing is, in order for the treatments to be used, you actually have to go and, so to speak, go house to house fighting, right? You have to actually nip the bud, the problem in the bud, right? And there's also risk of death over there, right? There's risk of death in that situation, but there's way less, actually way less risk in reality. Because if you're doing early intervention, you can prevent a ton of deaths, a ton, maybe 80 or 90%, depending on who the people are. Right? So we've shown that to be true. So my friends, this is a pattern of behavior of society. We're not actually trying to solve the problem. We're not actually trying to go in to root out the virus that we have or the viruses that we have, whether it be actual medical, viruses, actual viruses, physiological or figurative. Terrorist groups, whomever. We're not actually here to solve the problem. We're actually here just to do, what is it called? Conflict management or conflict resolution, or what they call endemic. We want to make things endemic, right? Right now, Hamas is endemic. They're an endemic virus, which we deal with via what's called a munitions version of a vaccine called Iron Dome, right? That's a vaccine. Iron Dome is a vaccine. You're always going to get the breakthrough cases. You can always be infected. You're always going to get those rockets that land every so often. You're not going to get everything, right? But if you actually deal with the problem head on, you're going to actually solve it. Yes, you will risk some lives as well, but not as many actually in the long run. You won't. and you for sure will not have collateral damage. You won't. On the opposite side of the spectrum. So same thing goes for the you're not going to have side effects if you actually deal with the problem. You just won't. So my friends, the question is, what do we want to do here? Do we want to actually, I was talking to a friend of mine, she was all upset about the whole Iron Dome situation, Congress and all that stuff. But then today she told me, but how much longer can this go on? How much longer? This is not a sustainable strategy to keep having Iron Dome, to keep funding Iron Dome, to keep hoping that America will keep it running, keep the, so to speak, the spigot running. At some point, you're going to have people in Congress and the government who are going to say, we're kind of done with this. At which point you're going to have to get off the, off the pipe, as we say. As Rebecca Hanna used to say, Israel's an economic junkie in this respect. At some point, you're going to have to get off the pipe. Just like my friends, at some point, we're going to have to stop taking the what. We won't be able to. Really, we won't be able to. As much as, these pharma companies will want us to, and certain officials will want us to, we won't be able to. We won't be able to sustain the system, meaning if you're going to start firing people, whatever it is, and people are going to have, side effects are going to come out into the open. You can't keep suppressing stuff. You can't keep hiding stuff. They won't be able to. We have social media. We have all these things. It's a non-sustainable path. We're going to have to nip this in the bud. How do we do it? With treatments. We have them. Ivermectin, HCQ, quercetin, zinc, monoclonal antibodies. We have things we can do. We have things. We have them. To say that we don't is absurd. Something going on outside. Speaking of viruses. Anyway, guys, so, you could say, well, this is bad policy. Guys, I like to think that this is not bad policy. This is actually deliberate on the part of people, on the part of officials. It is. It's deliberate. And my friend is saying, Iron Dome is tested by Israel for the benefit of the U.S. military. Yeah, listen, we are taking certain things that are made in America, and we're the test case. Again, it's the same thing for the stuff that we're being forced to take. Israel is the world's lab, right? Both militarily and epidemiologically, right? Israel is the world's lab. Pfizer CEO said that. Israel is the world's lab. If you don't want to accept that, that's your problem. If you don't want to say that the people who are taking stuff here in Israel are lab rats, if you're not comfortable with that terminology, I don't know what to tell you. It's a fact. So now the question is, do you want to be a lab rat or you don't want to be a lab rat? If you want to be a lab rat, fine. Just admit it. Just say, I'm a lab rat. You don't want to like being called a rat? You can be called, I don't know, a gopher. Or I don't know, a ferret, a lemur, I don't know. Pick an animal. But you're that animal in a lab. Yes, you're in Israel. I don't want to be that. I'm not an animal. I'm a human being, in the words of Elephant Man, okay? David Lynch's character. It's just something, pet peeve I have. I'm crazy like that, right? Sue me. So, yeah, guys, we're the lab. Just like we're the lab with, conflict, international conflict, Middle East conflict. Iron Dome is being tested and perfected, hopefully, maybe. At least that's being perfected. I don't know about the other stuff that we're being forced to take, right? Yeah, guys, so that's essentially the story. This is a world that is refusing to take care of things. Where we're refusing to take care of things. We are just happy to keep things endemic. Conflict management. There's no conflict resolution. I remember I was thinking about going to Tel Aviv University. They had a program, conflict resolution. Has anybody resolved anything in all these years? Then they also have like conflict management. Yeah, you're managing conflict. That's what you're doing. You're managing the problem, just like every other, ailment that people have on this planet. They don't actually solve it. Doctors don't actually solve it. Pharmaceutical companies don't actually solve it. They don't want to solve it because if they solve it, they cease to exist. Their drugs cease to exist, right? The market ceases to exist if they actually solve the problem. But if you have management of an ailment, you have to be on a drug for the rest of your life. That's right there, my friends. That's right there. Fat cash, right? They don't want to solve it. Just like I was saying about, like these Jewish organizations, right? You come to them and you say, I have a solution for the thing that you're fighting, the thing that you're, the problem that you're highlighting. If they solve this, my friends, if they actually solve the problem, if they actually accept our ideas and go and fund ideas that solve the problems that they're trying to solve, guess what happens, my friends? You see this chair? They don't have any more of those chairs in their offices in New York. They're gone, right? So they're not going to solve anything. They're just going to pay lip service. They're going to talk about how, they don't want to split this up. See the map behind me? They don't want to split that up into, partition that. They're going to talk about it, and they're going to, raise funds, and they're going to pay themselves nice salaries and have nice offices in Manhattan, and they're going to go on trips funded by you, and exploratory trips, and they're going to go to wineries, and they're going to go here, and they're going to go there, and they're going to sit in these nice chairs and pretend like they have a raison d'être. They're not going to solve anything, my friends. Just like the politicians are not going to solve anything, and just like the pharmaceutical companies are not going to solve anything. They're just going to keep it alive, and there's going to be the next variant, just like there's going to be the next variant of the missile, and the next variant of the Qassam and the Grad, and they're just going to keep coming out with new variants of munitions, right? And the new variant, and then the new updated Iron Dome, and the new updated what that we're being forced to take. My friend is saying, almost nobody talks about how healthy nutrition and exercise can prevent disease. It's all about the what. Of course. Not one time have we heard Mr. Mousy come out and say, Dr. Mousy, you know, guys, go outside and get some vitamin D. You know, guys, get some zinc and quercetin. Get some Z-Pack, you know? Go get some, well, HCQ they already wrote off because they thought it was a house cleaner, or pool, I don't know, whatever. Go get some ivermectin. Go get some, you know, monoclonal antibodies. Finally, they're talking about that. Mr., you know, the guy who was friends with Epstein made a video about monoclonal antibodies. Wow, I was like shocked. The Israeli government bought them. Wow, after all these months, after a year and a half, almost 2 years. And I'm just like, wow. That's really nice of them, finally. After Joe Rogan publicly said that he, you know, recovered from them. Guys, it's amazing. I mean, if at worst, at best, this is like negligence. At worst, this is actually a crime against humanity. To know that there's a solution for something and to withhold it from people. I mean, it's just, I don't know. But yeah, guys, the question we have to ask ourselves is, do we want to keep this whole Iron Dome mentality going, or do we actually want to go in and, yes, risk something, have a Munah on Hashem, and nip the problems in the bud once and for all? That's what we have to ask ourselves. All right, guys, it's been real. And B'ezrat Hashem, I'll talk to you guys next week, if not before Shabbat. All right, Mazel Tov.